Alina's gone, she's dead. And I'm sitting here in my silent apartment breathing, typing this out. Everyone says I'm lucky, lucky. That word feels like acid in my mouth. It's been 3 days since the accident, and every time I close my eyes, I don't see the fall, I don't hear the crash. I just see the look on people's faces when I tell them why I wasn't in that elevator with her. The investigators, the company shrink, even my own mom, they all ask the same question with these soft, gentle voices. Why did you decide to take the stairs, sweetie? And I tell them. I tell them the God's honest, stupid, pathetic truth, and I watch their faces change. The pity curdles into confusion. They think I'm covering for something. Or that my mind just snapped from the trauma and invented a detail to protect itself. I wish it had. I wish my brain was that kind. Because the truth is so flimsy, so insultingly trivial, that it can't possibly hold the weight of a person's life. Alina is dead and I am alive, and the reason for that is so profoundly, cosmically dumb that it feels like a personal attack. It's not survivor's guilt I'm feeling. Not really. It's a kind of cosmic shame. I'm ashamed to be alive for a reason that makes no sense, a reason that cheapens her death and my life. It should have been a premonition, a gut feeling, a sign from the universe. But it wasn't, it was nothing. And that nothing is why her parents are picking out a casket and I'm picking out what to order for dinner. And that simple fact is breaking me into pieces. That afternoon was aggressively, painfully normal. It was a Thursday. The 5 o'clock quiet was settling over our floor, the kind of quiet that isn't really silent. It's the hum of the server room down the hall, the distant thunk of a desk drawer being locked for the last time, the sigh of the HVAC system. I was deep in spreadsheet hypnosis, the kind where you've been looking at the same cells for so long they start to look like an alien language. My brain felt like a dial-up modem trying to load a high-def video. That's when Alina appeared at the wall of my cubicle, leaning against it with that familiar, easy smirk. She didn't even have to say anything. Her presence was enough to break the spell. If you stare at that any longer, you're going to give yourself an aneurysm, Owen, she said. Her voice was always a little raspy, like she'd just finished a good laugh. The data isn't going to run away. It's happy hour and O'Malley's is calling our names. I managed a groan, a big theatrical sound of corporate suffering. I'm swamped, Elle. This quarterly report is a beast. It's a beast for Peterson, she countered, sliding a coaster onto the corner of my desk. It was from our usual spot. She'd swiped a stack of them months ago and would use them like a summons. He probably just uses it as a doorstop. You could submit a page of gibberish and he'd sign off on it. You know that? Now come on, one drink, my treat. You look like you're about to start writing code with your own blood. That's what I miss the most, the way she could just cut through the bullshit. She knew I was just dragging my feet, lost in the weeds of pointless perfectionism. We'd been friends since I started at the firm 3 years ago. She was the one who showed me how to use the god-awful coffee machine, who told me which managers to avoid, who listened to me rant for an hour after my ex dumped me via text. She was solid, a fixed point in the chaos of my late 20s. We talked for another 10 minutes while I slowly, reluctantly shut down my computer. She was telling me about her disastrous attempt to bake a cake for her nephew's birthday over the weekend. It looked like a collapsed lung, Owen, a sad chocolate lung. My sister said the kid actually cried when he saw it. I was laughing, properly laughing, for the first time all day. She was complaining about having to go to her sister's wedding dress fitting on Saturday, how she was going to be forced to give opinions on 50 Shades of White. She was talking about the future, a future that was just days away. Ready? She finally asked, grabbing her worn leather bag from the floor. Ready, I said, shrugging on my jacket. We walked out of the department together, the last two to leave, our footsteps echoing in the suddenly cavernous office space. The lights were on timers. Some sections had already gone dark, casting long, distorted shadows that made the ergonomic chairs look like hunched creatures. It was just a normal walk to the elevator on a normal Thursday. There was absolutely nothing to suggest it was the last walk we'd ever take together. We reached the elevator bank. There are 4 of them in a row, all brushed steel and muted lighting. The air here always felt different, cooler, like the building was holding its breath. Alina jabbed the down button with more force than necessary, a habit of hers. The little plastic circle glowed with a soft amber light. We stood there in a comfortable silence for a moment, the kind only good friends can share. I was mentally calculating how much work I'd have to do on Friday to make up for leaving early. She was probably deciding between a beer and a cider. The ding of the arriving elevator was soft, almost apologetic. As the doors began to slide open, a clatter of plastic and a wet splash echoed from around the corner. A cleaning cart shot into view, wobbling precariously. Pushing it was Hector, one of the newer guys from the night crew. He was a lanky kid, maybe 20, all elbows and frantic energy. He was trying to stop the cart, but its momentum was working against him. One of the big, yellow mop buckets on the front tilted, sloshed, and a wave of murky gray water cascaded out, fanning across the polished floor right in front of the elevator doors. It soaked a dark, ugly patch into the gray carpet. "Oh shoot, oh man, I'm so sorry," Hector stammered, his face flushing a deep red. He fumbled for a rag on his cart, a rag that looked like it had already seen a lifetime of grime, and started dabbing uselessly at the spreading puddle. The smell hit me then, not just dirty water, but something vaguely sweet and chemical, like cheap floor cleaner mixed with spilled soda. I'm not a germaphobe, not really. But something about that specific mess, the grimy water, the frantic apology, the dirty rag just pushing the filth around it just repulsed me. My stomach did a little flip. The elevator doors were fully open now, revealing the empty waiting car. Alina just laughed it off. "No worries, man, it happens." But I just couldn't. I pictured stepping over that puddle, the soles of my shoes getting wet, tracking that vague stickiness home. It was an immediate, visceral no. "You know what? I think I'll take the stairs," I said, the words coming out before I'd even really thought them through. Alina turned to me, one eyebrow raised in disbelief. "The stairs? Oh, and we're on the 20th floor." "Yeah, I know, I could use the exercise," I lied. She just shook her head, a grin playing on her lips. "You and your weird little quirks, fine. Don't blame me when your legs are jelly tomorrow." She gave me a little mock salute, turned, and stepped into the elevator. The doors started to close, and for a split second I saw her face, still smiling at my absurdity. Then the doors slid shut and she was gone. The stairwell door was heavy, and it closed behind me with a solid, echoing thump. Instantly the world became concrete and silence. The polished marble and soft lighting of the office lobby were gone, replaced by bare walls, painted a depressing institutional gray, and the harsh, functional glare of fluorescent lights. The only sound was the squeak of my own dress shoes on the gritty steps. One flight down, 19 to go. The air was still and cool, smelling faintly of dust and old paint. My footsteps set up a rhythm, a steady beat in the otherwise total quiet. Squeak, clack, it was almost meditative. For a second I felt a little smug. Yeah, 20 floors was a lot, but this was better than standing in a stuffy elevator, making awkward small talk with people from accounting. This was cleansing. I passed the landing for the 19th floor, then the 18th. The numbers were stenciled on the wall in stark black paint. My breathing was starting to get a little heavier, a little burn beginning in my calves. I was regretting my decision just a tiny bit. Alina was probably already in the lobby, texting me, making fun of my impromptu workout. It happened as I was halfway down to the 17th floor. First, there was a sound from above. It wasn't loud, just a sharp, unnatural twang like a giant guitar string snapping. It was a sound so out of place in the concrete silence that I stopped dead, one foot hovering over the next step. I looked up as if I could see through the ceiling. Then came the roar. It wasn't a mechanical noise. It was the sound of physics being violated, a sound of immense weight and unrestrained velocity. It was a brutal, tearing shriek of metal on metal, a deafening rush of displaced air, all happening at once. It was the sound of a giant falling, and it was getting louder, closer, coming down right on top of me. I didn't even have time to think. My body just reacted. I flattened myself against the cold concrete wall, my hands flying up to cover my head, my jaw clenched so hard I thought my teeth would crack. The roar passed me in a blur of terrifying sound that vibrated through the soles of my shoes, through my bones, right into my soul. And then the impact. It was a deep, final, guttural boom. A sound so heavy and absolute it felt like the building's heart had just stopped. The entire stairwell shuddered. A fine layer of dust rained down from the ceiling. For a heartbeat there was silence again, a ringing, profound silence, then the alarm started screaming. "Update, thanks for the messages, I'm home now, my sister's here." I keep drinking water, but my throat feels like sandpaper. The police let me go a few hours ago. They were okay, professional, but their questions just kept circling back to the same damn thing. "Mr. Grady, can you walk us through your decision to take the stairs one more time?" Every time I told them about the spilled water, I could see it in their eyes. The flicker of disbelief. The subtle shift in posture that says, this guy is either lying or in shock. And the thing is, I get it, it sounds insane. Who avoids an elevator ride down 20 floors because of a little puddle? But here's what's really messing with my head. As I sit here replaying it over and over, that moment feels blurry. Was the puddle really that big? Was the rag really that dirty? Or did my brain in the aftermath amplify those details to justify a choice that saved my life? Did I just get a weird vibe? A sudden, inexplicable urge? I don't know. I honestly don't know anymore. It's like trying to remember the exact details of a dream. And that uncertainty is terrifying, because if it wasn't just the water, then what was it? And why me? That question is just echoing in the silence of my apartment, and I have no goddamn answer. The days that followed were a thick gray fog. The company, in a move of corporate-mandated compassion, gave us the rest of the week off. They sent out emails with links to grief counseling services and HR-approved platitudes about being a family in this difficult time. My phone buzzed constantly with a relentless stream of calls and texts from friends, family, coworkers I barely knew. Everyone wanted to know if I was okay. Everyone said the same things, a chorus of well-meaning but hollow phrases. "You're so lucky, it's a miracle. Someone was watching over you." Each word felt like a tiny stone being thrown at me. I wasn't okay, I wasn't lucky, I felt cursed. And if someone was watching over me, why the hell weren't they watching over Alina? The universe hadn't saved me. It had just chosen her. The randomness of it was a physical weight on my chest. I couldn't shake her from my head, her final, smiling dismissal of my weird little quirk, the mock salute. The closing doors. It played on a loop, a private, torturous movie that my brain refused to turn off. I'd be trying to make toast, and suddenly I'd see her face, framed by the closing elevator doors. I'd be in the shower, the water drumming on the tiles, and I'd hear her laugh. Sleep was a joke. When I did manage to drift off, I'd be jolted awake by the phantom sound of that final, sickening boom, my heart hammering against my ribs. When we went back to work the following Monday, the atmosphere was suffocating. The main elevator bank was cordoned off with stark, yellow, "do not cross" tape, a grim, constant reminder of the gaping hole that had been torn in our collective sense of safety. We were all forced to use the clunky, slow service elevators at the back of the building, crowding in with delivery guys and maintenance workers in uncomfortable silence. The office itself was a tomb. People moved slowly, spoke in whispers. The usual Monday morning chatter was replaced by a heavy, oppressive quiet, and they looked at me differently. I was the ghost, the one who walked away. I became an object of morbid fascination. People would stop talking when I entered the break room. I'd catch them staring from across the aisle of cubicles, their eyes wide with a disturbing mix of pity and awe, before they'd quickly look away, pretending to be engrossed in their work. They didn't know what to say to me, and honestly, I didn't know what to say to them. I was a living, breathing monument to the tragedy. My very existence was an uncomfortable reminder of Alina's absence. And the reason for it all, the spilled water, the dirty mop, it felt more and more absurd with each passing hour. It was an insult to the gravity of the situation. A life, a wonderful, vibrant life filled with bad baking and wedding fittings and a raspy laugh, had been extinguished. And the fulcrum on which it all turned was a janitorial mishap. My brain refused to accept it. It just couldn't be that simple, that random. There had to be more. There had to be a reason, a pattern, something to give it meaning. That's when I started to fixate on Hector, the clumsy kid with the cleaning cart. He wasn't just a janitor anymore. In my mind, he became a symbol, a messenger. An unwitting angel or a harbinger of doom. His action, his specific, clumsy action, had saved my life. Why? Did he know something? Did he see something? Was the spilled water a warning? A sign I was meant to understand? The thought was insane, I knew it was. But it was the only thing my grief-addled mind could cling to. It was a shield against the howling void of meaninglessness. The idea that this wasn't just a stupid, pointless accident was the only thing keeping me from completely falling apart. I had to find him, I had to know. My obsession with Hector became my new full-time job. I spent hours at my desk, staring at the same spreadsheet from the day of the accident, but my mind was elsewhere. I was replaying the scene at the elevator, trying to recall every detail. The color of his uniform, the brand name on the mop bucket. Did he look at me? Did he make eye contact? My memory was a frustratingly blank slate. I started with HR. I have a friend there, Chloe, who handles payroll. I caught her in the break room, my approach probably looking as shady as it felt. "Hey Chloe, quick weird question for you," I started, trying to sound casual. "That new cleaning guy Hector, do you have his contact info? I think I might have left my watch near where he was working that day." The lie tasted like ash in my mouth. Chloe gave me a sympathetic but firm look. "Owen, I can't give out employee information, you know that. Besides, Hector doesn't work here anymore." My heart skipped a beat. What, why? He was let go. It was actually his last day, that Thursday. His supervisor filed the paperwork that afternoon, said he was a disaster. Apparently, he'd had a dozen minor accidents in the 2 weeks he was here. Spilled coffee on some documents in accounting, knocked over a ficus in the lobby. The final straw was him somehow getting soda from the vending machine to spray all over the third-floor conference room. She shook her head. The kid was just a walking liability. Soda, she said, soda. That detail hit me like a punch to the gut. The murky water, the vaguely sweet smell, it wasn't dirty mop water. It was probably a giant Coke or something. My grand cosmic sign was just some kid spilling a soda. The absurdity was so profound it was almost dizzying. My quest for meaning had led me to the discovery of a spilled beverage. The entire life-altering event was downgraded from a mysterious warning to a sticky mess on the floor. It was the stupidest, most anticlimactic revelation imaginable. There was no angel, no messenger, just a clumsy kid who got fired, and I was alive because of it. Final update. I found out there was no conspiracy, no divine intervention. Hector wasn't some kind of cryptic messenger sent to warn me. I got the full story. He was just a kid who was bad at his job. The universe didn't save me. A spilled can of Dr. Pepper did. That's what the dirty water was. Alina is dead, her family is shattered, and I'm sitting here typing this, all because a clumsy temp on his last day before getting fired for incompetence made a mess I was too prissy to step over. There is no meaning, there is no reason. The universe didn't whisper a warning in my ear. It just slipped on a banana peel and I happened to be standing out of the way. My life and Alina's death are the punchline to a cosmic joke that isn't even funny. I don't know what to do with that. Grief I could handle, tragedy I could process, but this profound, soul-crushing stupidity, it's worse than sadness, it's a vacuum, it's the chilling realization that it's all just chaos. We're all just pins in a bowling alley and it doesn't matter how you live or who you are. Sometimes the ball just heads your way for no reason at all, and sometimes you get spared because of a puddle of soda. I think I might be losing my mind.